France didn't have time to innovate in World War II, but their planes were still surprisingly impressive. Let's take a look at every French aircraft that took to the skies. Let's begin with fighters. Dewoitine D.520 had the performance pedigree to rival its German counterparts. Agile, fast, and a step ahead of most of France's earlier fighters, it could tangle with Bf-109s and come out swinging. The problem? It arrived too late and in too few numbers. As production gradually gained momentum, the battle for France was already nearing its end. Still, its potential left a lasting impression. Saulnier, MS-406, was the workhorse of France's frontline fighter units in 1940. It was reliable and could absorb significant punishment, but its underpowered engine made it sluggish at altitude. Luftwaffe pilots, flying faster and more modern aircraft, considered it easy prey. Despite this, some skilled French pilots coaxed every ounce of fight out of it in the critical early weeks of the war. Block MB-152 was intended to deliver power with its strong armament and durable frame, but development hurdles meant it reached squadrons late and underperforming. Teething issues with engine cooling and aerodynamics left it struggling against newer Axis aircraft. While capable in theory, in practice it was often one step behind the Luftwaffe's swift incursions. Podes 631 served multiple roles as an effective twin-engine heavy fighter and reconnaissance aircraft. It may not have dominated dogfights, but its versatility earned it wider deployment than many of its single-role counterparts. Whether shadowing enemy troop movements or patrolling distant sectors, it proved dependable with surprising tactical value. Squadron C-714 Cyclone was built for speed and simplicity, but lightweight construction made it dangerously fragile in combat. French pilots nicknamed it the Flying Coffin, yet a group of Polish volunteers flew it with bravery under fire during the Battle of France, logging enough kills to earn post-war respect for a design many had written off. Arsenal VG-33 held lots of promise, sleek, wooden, and fast. It was among the most advanced prototypes France had in development. Early test flights showed a fighter that could keep pace with the best, but war waits for no one. Production stopped before it could enter meaningful service, and its legacy remains a glimpse into what might have been. Dewoitine D.510, a relic by World War II standards, had a fixed landing gear and open cockpit. While outdated, it still flew a few missions in training and reserve roles in the early battles. A handful even squared off with the Germans before being rotated out and redeployed around the North African front. Koolhoven Fk-58 was a Dutch-built fighter rushed into production when France needed reinforcements. On paper, it offered quick delivery and competitive performance, but French pilots were unimpressed. A lack of armor protection and operational shortcomings meant its influence on the war effort remained minimal. Podes 230 never progressed beyond the prototype stage. Engineers hoped it would replace aging biplanes, and while it offered some innovation, test flights revealed it couldn't meet the pressing combat demands of 1940. It serves more as a what-if design than a real player in wartime aviation history. Bombers. Liaison et Olivier Le O-451 was France's standout bomber of World War II. With sleek lines and excellent speed, it often outran German fighters. However, poor tactical planning led to high losses during Blitzkrieg operations, as scattered deployment and lack of fighter cover left it exposed during intense raids. Amiot 351 embodied the modernization France strived for, twin-engine, streamlined and fast. Yet manufacturing delays kept this promising bomber grounded too long. By the time a limited number made it to combat, the armistice was already looming, and its true combat potential went largely unfulfilled. Breguet 693 specialized in low-altitude ground support. Small and maneuverable, it excelled at dodging anti-aircraft fire and delivering precision strikes against road convoys and tanks. Among French bombers, It arguably had the most relevant battlefield function during the fast-paced combat of 1940. POTES 633 was a light bomber derivative of the multitasking POTES 630 series. Though versions were sold abroad, those retained at home were quickly converted for bombing runs. Performing at medium altitudes, they delivered payloads during a time when France desperately needed any assets in the air. Amiot 143, a lumbering behemoth with a boxy shape, was already out of place by World War II. Its massive frame earned it nicknames like Flying Apartment, and it stood no chance against modern enemy fighters. Yet, it flew until it could fly no more, too valuable to be grounded in desperate times. Block MB-210 was a twin-engine bomber that never shed its pre-war design roots. Fixed landing gear and low top speed restricted its usefulness in combat roles. As the Luftwaffe gained supremacy, it found new life shuttling goods or serving as a trainer plane behind the lines. Farman NC-223 was originally meant for peaceful mail routes, until war changed everything. France adapted this hefty four-engine aircraft as a heavy bomber. In an iconic moment early in the war, one variant carried out a lone bombing raid over Berlin, a symbolic gesture as Europe braced for the storm. POTES 540, with its high-mounted wing and glassy cockpit, was a recognizable face in overseas operations. Though obsolete at home by World War II, the type continued flying patrols and transporting troops in colonial regions, where the skies were less hostile and its dated design proved sufficient. If you're enjoying the video so far, give it a quick like, it really helps. And if you're into World War II aviation like this, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. Here's a fun question for you. If you had to choose one French aircraft to fly in 1940, which one would it be and why? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to see what you'd go with. Reconnaissance and Observation. POTES 63.11 was perhaps France's best effort in dedicated aerial reconnaissance. Built from the versatile POTES 630 family, it boasted a fully glazed nose for optimal visibility. Forward observers relied heavily on these aircraft to guide artillery and track German troop formations. Block MB-175 appeared too late to make a large impact, but represented the peak of French recon bomber development. A three-seat powerhouse, it combined agility and range with impressive versatility. A few prototypes entered service just as the war's tempo overwhelmed supply lines. POTES 637 came earlier than its 63.11 sibling and forged the path for medium-range reconnaissance efforts. French mapping units flew it extensively in spring 1940, and while lacking cutting-edge features, its reliability made it a staple over key contested zones. Muro 117 wasn't flashy, but in liaison and battlefield observation, it delivered where it counted. A high-wing monoplane, it was often based close to the front, resilient and trustworthy, even if outdated. For early-stage infantry spotting and coordination, it remained a frontline essential. POTES 25 had started life in the interwar boom and flew in various countries around the globe. By the start of World War II, it played a quieter role in colonial outposts and advanced training centers. Its survivability and ease of maintenance made it a lasting figure in remote theaters. POTES 39 served as a dependable connector between air and ground. Though overshadowed by newer entries, it provided solid service in artillery spotting and short-range patrol. France's sprawling battlefronts made such modest yet vital aircraft a necessary cog in the war machine. Breguet 27, with its exposed rear fuselage and two-seat arrangement, looked unconventional even by 1930s standards. Its toughness earned it some respect, but by 1940, it was vastly outclassed and vulnerable when confronted with high-speed enemy interceptors. Naval Aviation. WWII 298 was France's most capable float plane. Armed for torpedo runs and built to endure punishing sea conditions, it patrolled coastlines and hunted submarines effectively. It continued flying long after France's surrender, serving both under Free French and Vichy commands. Loire 130 served from cruisers and battleships, launched by catapult and recovered at sea. Versatile and rugged, it provided essential eyes over the ocean, especially during fleet maneuvers. Naval commanders depended on it for reconnaissance far from land. Breguet 521 Bizerte was a long-range maritime flying boat, large and heavily built for harsh Atlantic patrols. Anti-submarine duties and lengthy FOB missions became its bread and butter. Its large wingspan and endurance made it a key asset in covering vast ocean fronts. Liaison et Olivier Le OH-470 was an advanced design meant to bring four-engine capability to the Navy's flying boat fleet. But only a single prototype took to the air before development halted. Still, its ambition hinted at the evolving scope of France's naval aviation plans. WWII 302 started with civilian service in mind, but was militarized for transatlantic patrol. Its impressive range enabled it to monitor remote ocean sectors and play a crucial role in long-distance coordination, even when better-armed aircraft were in short supply. CAMS-55 was a leftover from an earlier generation, slow and aging, but valuable in calmer waters and harbor zones. Coastal recon and training patrols were its domain, where it remained safe from the high-speed threats that ruled Europe's contested skies. WWII 300 series included models like the Lu-70, which provided critical support in maritime surveillance despite their vintage. Patrolling the Mediterranean and North Atlantic, they performed dutifully even as newer aircraft began replacing them. Levasseur PL-7, a single-seat carrier aircraft, fell behind rapidly in the arms race. Deemed obsolete early in the conflict, it was soon removed from frontline status. Nonetheless, its inclusion tells the story of France's early struggles with carrier aviation development. Transport, liaison, and trainers. Caudron C445 Guyland fulfilled a crucial niche as a small, twin-engine transport. It handled VIP transfers, ferry missions, and medical evacuations with ease. Reliable and easy to maintain, it remained in service even as France reshaped its post-war air force. Caudron C630 Simon gained fame thanks to aviation pioneers. Fast, sleek, and perfect for long-distance flying, it later entered liaison duty in military service. Best remembered as the aircraft flown by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, it also served quietly in the background during wartime. Block MB-220, originally a civilian passenger aircraft, transitioned into transport duty overnight. Robust and able to carry a large crew or numerous supplies, it proved useful during France's rapid mobilization. Many of its frames were repurposed under harsh conditions. Podes 650 was purpose-built for strategic transport. Powered by 3 engines, it hauled personnel, cargo, and emergency reinforcements across embattled regions. As France tried to react quickly across theaters, dependable logistical aircraft like this were essential. Podes 58 operated in the communication and observation realm. Compact and reliable, it connected commanders to their frontlines swiftly, serving varied roles from aerial couriers to battlefield observers. Its adaptability helped fill gaps across France's aerial strategy. Morin-Saulnier, MS-230, was the primary trainer for over a decade, shaping thousands of young French pilots. Its parasol wing and stable flight characteristics made it ideal for novices learning the ropes. Even when war came knocking, its legacy was already deeply rooted. Caudron C-400 Failing performed critical utilitarian tasks. Lightweight, easy to fly, and durable, It enabled fast courier flights and short-range liaison work. Field commanders praised its ease of maintenance and dependable handling in field conditions. Hanriot H-29 may have looked dated, but it delivered where it was needed. A rugged biplane with impressive payload capacity, it helped ferry equipment across North African territories, where airfields were scarce and conditions harsh. Farman F-224 was another civilian model forced into military logistics. With 4 engines and a massive payload capacity, it moved entire units and their gear across wide distances. On the eve of collapse, France clung to whatever could keep the war effort alive, and this aircraft was one of those lifelines.